Pero yung dalawang anak niya sa Amerika, Martin, kilala mo, kamag-anak pala, kamag-anak. Hindi mo, kilala mo lahat yung mga
Si Joseph from Kadamangkayan. Salamat kay Walter Mark at binigyan kami ng pagkakataon na angkatin yung gulay namin. Nakita niya yung mga ganong bagay. Natulungan kami para maibenta namin ang gulay sa tulong nila.
Ako po si Crisanto de Maya Santos na nakatira sa Talavera, Nueva Ecija. Malaking tulong po kasi yung Agro-Digital tsaka po yung Walter Mark kasi nakukuha na po ng medyo magandang presyo yung mga gulay po namin.
Hindi na problema ang hindi mo na problema yung saan mo dadalhin yung gulay mo. Alagaan mo na lang yung quality, yung gulay, yung kagandahan ng gulay para pagdating sa mga consumer, maganda ang nila, gulay.
Ako po si Norman Verano, 36 years old. Para po sa mga namimili ng aming mga kalakal, mga gulay, sana po patuloy niyo po kaming suportahan.
Sa lahat po ng ng Walter Mark, maraming salamat po. Tapos po sana po suportahan po natin mga gulay ng Walter Mark kasi po gawa po ng mahihirap lang po magsasaka para po medyo umangat-angat naman po mga magsasaka.
Welcome to the amazing culinary journey. My name is Bon Reyes, the Executive Chef of Courtyard by Marty Iloilo, and we are here in Bon Concepcion Island, Iloilo, where we get our freshly caught seafoods.
We wholeheartedly support the advocacy of Salbaron ang Industriya sang Kasag for saving the crab industry in Concepcion Island. This initiative not only preserves the rich marine diversity of the Visayan Sea, but also sustains the livelihood of countless families who depend on it. In line with our support for this advocacy, Courtyard by Mart Iloilo introduced the Good Catch, a sustainable seafood buffet featuring the exquisite blue swimming crabs sourced directly from Macbon. Through this culinary journey, we invite our guests to savor the flavors of Iloilo while championing sustainability.
One business takes on many challenges. But when they're beyond what one can solve, it'll take more. each one pitching in to form seamlessly linked solutions. And with a partner to innovate and collaborate, we can create better experiences than we ever could alone, to become more valued than we'd ever be on our own. Because there's nothing greater than working as one to make an impact in people's lives. Redefine our greatness. Globe Business.
AIM to provide a safety briefing.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ray Antenero. I'm the Health and Safety Manager of AIM. So before we start with your program, we'll have a brief safety orientation to ensure that everyone here will know what to do in case an emergency happens when an emergency happens in AIM. Okay? So, when we hear an alarm, that means we have an emergency, so we have to evacuate the building immediately. So in case of fire, follow the race procedure, rescue anyone in immediate danger, alert others by activating the alarm system. This will also activate our emergency response brigade. Contain the fire by closing the door if we are the last person to leave the room, and evacuate the building using the nearest exit. And do not use the lift or the elevator, use the stairs. In case of earthquake, execute drop, cover, and hold. So drop under sturdy desk or table, cover yourself, and hold on. Be alert, keep your eyes open, and watch out for falling objects. Don't worry, that will not fall. Okay? So, and follow your evacuation plan. So, based on the last structural integrity test of AIM, this facility can withstand an approximate intensity 8 earthquake. So, this building will hold, or at least it will give us enough time to evacuate the building safely. So, this is our evacuation plan. From here, we have 2 exit points. So, we have 2 nearest stairs. Just follow this direction until we reach the ground level. If you're coming out from this side of the stairs, your exit should be in front of the main lobby. If you're coming out from the other side of the stair, your exit should be at the glass door, fronting the parking space. Our designated evacuation area is the employee parking of AIM across Gamboa Street. If you are hurt or injured or know someone in need of medical attention, there will be a clinic and there will be a doctor and a nurse at the evacuation area, and they will assist you. If you have other concerns, you may inquire with the security personnel, and they will assist you. And of course, when we are outside, please do not go back. Wait for our assistance if it is safe to return or not. Thank you so much, and good afternoon.
Thank you, Ray. And now, may I request everyone to please rise for the Philippine National Anthem.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiging, pero sa sigahanan, alam ng puso, sa dikit ko'y buhay, upang
Kindly take your seats as we begin today's lab and turn your attention to the screen for some reminders. For our guests here at the AIM Tech Space, Aboitiz Tech Space, just an extra reminder, this facility is equipped with ultra-sensitive suspended microphones, so your little hushes will be heard by our audience on Zoom. So may we request everyone to please maintain silence while the proceeding is ongoing. And with that, again, thank you for joining the 6th Liveable Cities Lab for the year. And to officially kick off our event, may I invite on stage Mr. Bill Luz, Chairman of the Liveable Cities Philippines and Chairman of the Rizalino Navarro Policy Center for Competitiveness at the Asian Institute of Management.
Thank you, Patrick. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Liveable Cities Lab this afternoon at the Aboitiz Tech Space here at the Asian Institute of Management. I'd like to also welcome our audience on Zoom and our audience on Facebook who are watching us nationwide. In case you're wondering, what's the composition of the audience? I was telling John just earlier on that we're roughly 50% government, meaning national, provincial, and local government, city and municipality governments, and 50% private sector. And the private sector will be divided into private sector organizations, businesses, academe, professionals, and NGO representatives. So that's who you are going to be communicating with this afternoon and who you will be participating with this afternoon. Now, I'd like to, first of all, greet everybody on behalf of our partners in the project, Globe Telecom, the League of Cities of the Philippines, and for today, the Sun Business Network, which I think the next speaker will be able to describe in more detail. The topic of food security and nutrition and malnutrition have been top of mind for many of us in the business community for the last several years now. And so we decided that even though this is not normally a topic that we would put in Liveable Cities, we thought it was an important enough topic to discuss because this is a problem we are facing across the country. And I thought that who better to provide the welcome remarks and the opening remarks for today than John Echauz. John is the convener and chairman of the Sun Business Network, so SBN, and SUN stands for Scaling Up Nutrition, and this has been working for several years now in the business community and together with corporate foundations. So to tell you more about our food picture and all about SUN, let me turn you over to John Echauz, convener and chairman of SBN. John?
Thank you very much, Bill. Thank you, everyone. It's good to see everyone. My name is John Echauz. I represent SBN, Scaling Up Nutrition Business Network. We have some members with us here today. SBN is a global movement. It was founded by GAIN and the World Food Program out of Switzerland, Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition. Our objective is to improve nutrition outcomes globally, initially for pregnant and lactating women in the first 1,000 days. And we have 4 sectors. There is the business sector, that's us. We have the government sector in the Philippines led by the National Nutrition Council. We have the CSAs and the donor network, and the donors as well. World Food Program convened us in the Philippines along with NNC. We also work with academe and the youth. Oh, that's us. Everyone relax. I'm not going to have a deck for you because I'd like to preserve your brain power for when the wonderful speakers speak. So, because we are here in AIM, let's have a quiz and just have some fun. Is that okay? Let's test your arms, all right? When I say raise your hand, up. Everyone, up. Okay, down. Great. We have in the Philippines 115 million people. That's our population. If you have 3 meals a day, that means we need to serve 126 billion meals in a year. So all of you just came from lunch, and don't you think that it's such a miracle that you actually had your meal? It's a miracle, right? It's not just one thing. It's your meat, your vegetables, your rice, your dessert pa. It's a miracle. Okay, quiz. How much is the cost of a nutritious Filipino meal? And the answers go from 20 pesos a day to 100 pesos per day. Okay? The cost of a nutritious meal. Who says 20? Raise your hands. 1 meal. Who says 30? Raise your hands. Who says, I'm sorry, this is the cost to feed 1 person in a day. Okay, a nutritious meal day. Okay. Who says 20? 3 meals. Who says 30? 30. Who says 40? Who says 50? Who says 60? Who says 70? Who says 80? Who says 90? Who says 100? Survey says the answer is 70 bucks. It costs 70 days to feed a Filipino a proper nutritious diet. Now how much are families actually spending per person? What's the actual spend? Who says 20 pesos per day? Who says 30? Who says 40? Who says 50? Who says 60? Who says 70? Who says 80? Who says 90? Who says 100? Ching Ching survey says actually it's 50 pesos a day. So we're spending 50 pesos for every Filipino per day, but it should actually be 70, 75 pesos to feed us properly. So there's a gap. All right, let's talk about stunted children under 5. What is stunting? Stunting means low height for your age. You know, if you are 21 years old, maybe the average man in the Philippines should be 5'6", but if it's only 5'1", then there's a problem. Genetics aside, right? That's short, low height for age. Now, what percent of children under 5 are stunted? So, you know, you think she's 4, but she's actually 9, right? So the answers go from 10% to 30%. Who says 10%? 10% of kids under 5 are stunted. Who says 10? Who says 15? Who says 20? Who says 25? Who says 30? Correct answer, 25%. So 1 in 4 kids is bansot. All right, let's go. Stunted children between 5 to 10 years old. Okay? Who says 10%? Who says 15? Who says 20? Who says 25? Who says 30? Correct answer, 20%. So 20% of kids between 5 to 10 are stunted. The thing about stunted kids, hindi pwedeng habulin. If you miss that window, you can't make it up. Okay, let's go to adolescents. Teenagers, stunted. Who says 10%? 15, 20, 25, 30. Correct answer is 25%. 25% of teenagers are stunted. Now, if there is undernutrition, there is also overnutrition, right? The milk teas, right, and the fast foods, they have to go somewhere. So what percent of adults have been overly nutritioned? Who says 10%? 20%? 30%? 40%? 50%? 60%? 42% of all Philippine adults are considered obese. And lastly, no one in this room has an empty ref or an empty cupboard. But so many Filipinos have empty refs, if they have refs, and empty cabinets for food. They are called moderate and severely food insecure households. Now, what percent of Philippine households are food insecure? Moderately or severely? Who says 10%? 10. Who says 20%? Who says 30%? Who says 40%? Who says 50%? Who says 60%? The correct answer is 42%. It's 35%, sorry. 35% of households are insecure. So when you see people on the street, 1 out of every 3 people are worried about how they're gonna feed their families. So we have our work cut out for us. If the child is not fed properly when they're young, beginning from the womb all the way to adolescence, it's not just physical loss. We lose human capital. IQ points are reduced by 15 to 20 points. I know all of you, all of your IQs are like range 120 because you're in AIM. But you'll have people with IQs at 95. That does not work. Now, when you look at human capital of the Philippines, what percent of our Philippine wealth does it represent? If you look at the Philippine wealth, right, 100%. What percent is human capital, meaning our brains? Who says 10%? Who says 20? Who says 30? 40? 50? 60? 70? 80? 90? 100? The answer is 70% of our wealth is tied up in our humans. And lastly, given where we are today, given the way we feed ourselves in nutrition and how do we nourish ourselves, what percent is our achievable potential out of 100? Who says 10%? 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. We're at 52%. We are leaving half of our brains on the table because we are not feeding ourselves. So feeding ourselves properly. So this is a work cut out for us. So SBN, we are made up of 40 companies and we represent the Philippine food system. You look from a supply perspective, you begin with your farm inputs, farm operations, post-harvesting, milling, manufacturing, wholesale, retail, food and food service, and then demand side. Demand side means what behaviors make you want to eat what you eat every day. It's easy to start a system on the supply side. If I grow tomatoes, maybe someone's gonna buy them, but it's terribly wasteful. The proper way to do it is from the demand side. Understand first what people want to eat, shape the demand, and then work backwards. One reason we see lots of wastage is because both ends of the supply of the food system do not talk. So we probably waste about 65% of all the food we produce. That's a lot of waste. We're very happy to have the members. Thank you for inviting us, Bill. From the 5 speakers, we'll talk about how they improve different parts of the Philippine food system. We won't go too much anymore into the other things we do, but we are here to serve you. If you want to join the SBN, if you are a company doing things on a for-profit or not-for-profit basis, just to improve nutrition, please join us. We are all better and smarter together. Thank you and God bless you all.
Thank you, John. Now you know why John is our convener and chairman of SBN. He speaks with such passion about this topic, and he's been able to assemble really this stellar group of 40-plus companies involved in food. So today's panel, we have kind of different organizations along this spectrum, from growing to supply chain and value chain, to feeding programs, to local LGU feeding programs, and to even food rescue, which is something that's not really talked about too much in the Philippines. And there are many, many more businesses involved in different programs, but we thought we only had room for 6. And so if this is so popular, we're going to get another round of speakers so that we can learn more about what people do. So that's what we have in store for us this afternoon. And let me start with our first speaker. I only had a chance to listen to him at a SBN meeting, I guess about a month ago. And I was so intrigued that I set up an appointment so we can have coffee and talk more about it and we can learn more about it. And I think it's a really fascinating way of doing things. Let me welcome Henry Sison of All Seasons Food and of Agro-DigitalPH. Henry's got an interesting background. He went from corporate IT to farming, I guess, in a way, and agriculture. And I think it's a great marriage of skills. So, Henry, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, all right. Thanks. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So, Henry Sison of Agro-DigitalPH. I run a personal farm as well based out of Batangas, an All Seasons Nature Farm. It's an organic farm, and we do a lot of livestock and vegetables in that microcosm of agriculture, where I actually started almost a decade back. In any case, for the next couple of minutes, we'll go discuss what Agro-Digital's been doing to help the food system in the Philippines. We wanted to actually put emphasis in realizing prosperity at the grassroots, because a lot of the macro interventions that most development agencies or government programs do, it's mainly focused on infrastructure, but rarely do we actually see something that's actually as deliberate as taking a look whether it actually has hit the grassroots and has affected as such. And for us, the thesis statement is designing a circular agricultural value chain to make sure that each portion of the ecosystem actually gets its share. So by design, we work closely with cooperatives and associations, not individual farmers. Dealing with individual farmers is difficult as it is, and we want the social structures that organizations like a cooperative or an association have already set up. And for the past 5 years, since 2019, we've been working closely with these entities to create our own ecosystem of people, of organizations that believe in the same thing, and that is basically to break off our feudal way of doing business where food is concerned. I call it feudal because since the time of Rizal, it's basically the same way that we actually trade our food. So just a quick one. So we've been dealing with a lot of agencies and development agencies. We are usually called to actually work at the grassroots level, and we're proud of that. As the only agri-tech, by the way, Agro-Digital is a technology company, by the way, but we have taken it upon ourselves to make sure that the technology reaches the grassroots. And the only way to convince our farmers and fishers is literally to show them the money. And it's just simple, It's not the sexy interface or because it's on mobile, right? It's because you actually give them money to feed. Just sharing you the impact and scale of Agro-Digital for the past year, since 2020, when we started trading and working with these grassroots organizations. Currently, we hit around 74.3 million year to date. Actually, that's about 78.4 already, given the numbers I've computed this morning. 87% of the proceeds of our sales go back to our communities. So that's actually unprecedented. I haven't seen a consolidator that's willingly going to give up a lot of the profits and push it back to communities. We feel that there's a lot of space for doing our way of doing business, and yeah, we basically do about more than 50 tons already of fruits and vegetables on a weekly basis, and it's actually compelling. If people in our ecosystem are really earning on a weekly basis, then that's the time that you actually change lives. And so that's our deal. Safe and nutritious food for every Filipino household. You know, this country is a country of ironies. You actually have about 9.72 million farmers and fishers earning less than the minimum requirement to live a proper life. So they're below the poverty line. Whereas you almost have about 30% of our school kids, no, ages 5 to 9, suffering from malnutrition or undernutrition. The food is there; it's not getting distributed properly. And for us at Agro-Digital, we would like to actually be that conduit to make sure that the food that our farmers and fishers produce actually get to where it actually needs to go. And how do we grow affordable food? So first and foremost, you need to look at it as a series of businesses. So it's really an enterprise for every segment of the value chain. It can't be you have interventions, oh, you want to grow papaya? Okay, grow papaya. You can grow, let's say, watermelon or something like that. It's not that. You actually have to design your value chain such that somebody has to do organic fertilizer. Somebody has to be the one consolidating. Somebody has to be the one marketing the produce. Each function has to be an enterprise. And clustering is key to that. No? A lot of conversations, how do we actually scale? It's to cluster these farmers to understand that the only way to progress is to progress as a group. This country has maybe hundreds or even thousands of varieties of banana chips. How do you expect those banana chips to compete against the ones in Thailand or Vietnam? The only way to do that is to cluster. Right? And of course, for us, because we are a digital company, that's the only time we're in. We use our digital infrastructure to sew the entire system together. And this is an example of what you can use to integrate and build businesses. So you talk about creating fertilizer, capturing waste resources to actually build the fertilizer. Basic is subsistence farming, all right, to feed your own. Right? Not even to actually do that as a livelihood. But at some point in time, you really have to just create those connections. And you can do that by analyzing how the system, or analyzing how each organization or each barangay, for this matter, would happen to do these functions. So somebody to collect all the waste, actually nandyan na naman yan, diba? It's already there. But you have to do that in a systemized way. Somebody is going to do the fertilizer, somebody to plant, and if it's excess, then somebody consolidates. You can then replicate that by barangay in order to scale. Anything that is excess, you push it out to be sold in a common market. There's also a way to specialize it, right? So each barangay will happen to have a specialization given the raw materials that are available to it. So there are many ways to skin the cat. Hopefully you don't skin cats. Yeah, but there are actually a lot of ways to do this, but it has to be deliberate. It can't be you provide capital to cooperatives and you get the cooperatives to figure it out. It has to be a master plan. And that's where usually local government units come into play, or enterprises like Agro-Digital. Yeah. So we are what we call ourselves an ethical consolidator. All right. So we take a look at what a community can produce, encourage them to produce as much so that they can scale, and match them to our industry partners in food processing, in the Horeca segment. Feed millers is a special segment for us because for livestock, there's just a lot of requirements for feeds to feed our chickens and pork and all the works. Yeah, and of course you have the supermarkets and of course community organizations as well. And really the point is to scale all of these efforts. From a technology standpoint, we've actually created the digital support platform for the entire chain, from demand management to production management and forecasting to storage, so storage, and finally to transport as well. Now, all these things we developed in 2019. Unfortunately for us, the industry was not exactly ready then. Then the pandemic hit, and then all of a sudden, food's important. And then now they're actually more, well, at least there's a lot more discussions in terms of how do we digitize our ecosystem. But having said that, communities are really at the heart of what we do. We talk about community engagement, working with communities who want to change. In the vernacular, these are the guys who have the apoy sa puwet. Because if there's no platform for change, forget it. It's going to be a tough sell. But there are actually communities that say, oh, I really want to do this. And that's the time wherein we provide the right interventions to build a livelihood and enterprise support. And then once they actually have an enterprise to speak of, that's the only time that we actually bring them to digital. So we have a digital platform to support them, and then we integrate them to our sustainable communities nationwide. I have an example. So for instance, our guys in Benguet, they bring down the goods down to Metro Manila. Our partners in Batangas, who have a lot of livestock, they actually have a lot of processed chicken manure. We bring the processed chicken manure, then that actually becomes the backload of our guys going to Benguet. The Benguet guys actually have an opportunity to actually sell their vegetables in Metro Manila and basically half the cost of logistics because on their return trip, they actually have organic fertilizers. And you know, the cornerstone of this is really the hubs. No? So we actually have a hub system. This is not your ordinary bagsakan, but it is something, a hub that is more interested in literally supply and demand, as opposed to your regular bagsakan, which is more of a real estate game. So a production hub is a hub in the area wherein we have a lot of production. Distribution or trade hubs are those that are actually out there in the center of the battlefield, that is distribution. Remember, the country produces enough food. The problem is really distribution, right? And this one can be owned by any entity, can be a local government unit, it can be a private enterprise or a cooperative or an association, for as long as they commit to use the same protocols, quality metrics, and technology to make things work. So really, this is a distributed system that we're espousing for. So currently, our hub network lies across these provinces. So the live production hubs are largely in Benguet, Talavera, and Nueva Ecija for mainly onions and lowland vegetables, as well as the ones on the south. No? This actually makes up for our 50-ton demand on a weekly basis for Luzon. What we are working on closely is really that spot there in the Visayas, in Panay and Negros. And our cornerstone there is really more on seafood. But having said that, there are local government units there that want us to actually look at the entire space, because food is food, and people just don't eat fruits and vegetables. There are actually requirements for meats and seafood as well. And this is just that. So it's really community-based. This is one of the rare times I'm actually in Manila. I'm usually in the provinces working closely with our farmers and fishers. Because you cannot appreciate what challenges they go through unless you talk to them face to face. So I'm not exactly a fan of Zoom. Sorry, maybe says 1 minute. Maybe it's just that, no? But there's a lot of insight really when you go down to the grassroots and try to understand what they're going through, right? And really, all of our efforts is encapsulated under our tagline, Shared Prosperity. For all the things that we actually do for the past 3-4 years, it always boils down to whether we have made an actual impact on our communities. And the thing is, it might be a small impact this year, but it's really additive. Each year, it has to be a better life for everyone in our own ecosystem. And we call out for interested parties to join us. If your local government unit or cooperative is interested in joining this movement, I would say join this movement. We're a social enterprise, by the way, but the way we act is like we're an NGO. Yeah, but anyways, we're really passionate about the things that we do in order to, make affordable food to every Filipino. Again, thank you very much for the time and your attention.
Thank you, Henry. Yeah, I can attest to what Henry says. It's hard to catch. When I texted him for a meeting, we had to look for a midway point on his way to the airport so we could have a quick chat about what we're going to do. But Henry, thanks, and it's impressive. I saw that You started at about 17 million a year. You're now up to 78. So it looks like you're probably headed for 100 million peso year this year, right? And you mentioned you are moving about 50 tons a week. And when you started, how much were you moving? 300 kilos. Okay, so from 300 kilos to 50 tons a week and growing. And I noticed on the map he only covers Luzon and Visayas. So we'll ask him later on in the Q&A what happened to Mindanao. Okay, so our next speaker is the executive director of the East-West Seed Foundation. And I'm happy to say I have personal experience with East-West Seeds. So I'm a founding board member of the Philippine Coffee Board. And so I decided I wanted to grow coffee. And since I was starting on coffee and it takes 2.5 years before you harvest, I planted vegetables in between the coffee trees. And I went to East-West Seeds for my seeds. And one thing about East-West Seeds, the seeds are great in terms of the germination rate, and their extension workers are fantastic. They're really good. They come out to your farm and teach you how to plant. So very, very hands-on, and I'll never forget that experience. So with that, when we came across Bing again at one of the SBN meetings, I thought, wouldn't it be great to listen to what East-West Seed is doing now? Because I really think they're one of the premier seed companies in the country. So with that, let me welcome Bing Van Tooren, Executive Director of East-West Seed Foundation. Bing?
Do you think I can put this here? Para hindi ko, kasi magkakon na ka. We'll try. We'll try. I put it down on the podium, the mic, no? Can you hear me? Okay, because I need 2 hands. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At East-West Seed Foundation, we work towards food security and better family nutrition. I would like to thank Liveable Cities for this opportunity to share what we do and what we can all do towards our common goal of food security for all. Let me first share a bit about where we come from. East-West Seed is one of the world's leading vegetable seed companies in Asia and expanding rapidly in Africa and Latin America. East-West Seed's mission is to provide innovative products and services that help improve the livelihood of smallholder vegetable farmers. Extending East-West Seed's work for farmers and to cover a wider mandate, it established East-West Seed Foundation in 2012 to work towards food security and proper nutrition for every Filipino. This is our Facebook page. I hope you will like and follow. This is our entire team, 75% of whom are agriculturists. We have a resident nutritionist dietitian. So when it comes to vegetable production, you're in good hands. We are PCNC certified and accredited by the Philippine Council for Agriculture and Fisheries, or DAPCAF. We are a member of the Association of Foundations and the League of Corporate Foundations. As of 2023, we have worked with about 27,000 students, 4,700 teachers, 258 partner barangays, and 2,800 partner schools. According to the World Food Programme's October 2022 survey results, 1 out of 10 households in the Philippines are food insecure. However, when we look at agricultural households, The number is even higher. 1 in 4 households that rely on agricultural livelihoods are food insecure. It's a puzzle, but I believe this is due to monocropping. If you are planting rice, that's all you plant. If you're planting coconuts, that's all you plant. That will not make you food secure year-round. The solution is crop diversification. Okay. How do our vegetables reach us? This is what happens to vegetables from production to consumption. Quite a long, time-consuming, and costly process. From production to post-harvest handling, trading, processing, trading again, retailing, and finally, you will find the vegetables at your favorite retail market. Time is taken while the vegetables pass through these many hands, so they may no longer be fresh. And the transportation is a major component of this process, which adds to the cost. And everyone involved in the process must make some gain or profit. All these result in higher prices. What if we can shorten the vegetable value chain? What if we can remove the intermediate steps, jumping from production to the last 2 steps, retailing and consumption? We will be eating fresher produce, and the farmers will earn more for their effort. Next, an example, click more. An example of vegetables traveling to Manila is squash from Nueva Vizcaya to Divisoria. After harvest, this is picked up or taken to a buying station, then to a trader consolidator who makes use of trucks bringing the squash to Divisoria or other major vegetable trading centers in Metro Manila. Retailers go to these trading centers to buy produce to sell in their own markets. The whole process takes 5 to 11 days before the consumer sees the product. Now, Nueva Ecija is relatively close to Metro Manila. But did you know that a lot of the squash being consumed in Luzon and Visayas come from Mindanao? It's a puzzle again. Why we don't grow enough squash in Luzon or nearer areas. The squash travels in closed container vans, taking 10 to 21 days before reaching the consumer. So, let's shorten the vegetable value chain. Let's try this. I have a few suggestions for you today. The first suggestion I have are for consumers and community members like ourselves. Grow some vegetables at home. Make your family more food secure. Even just kamote will add to your health and provide passive income. Our primary intervention is called VeggiEskwela, that aims to promote and enable vegetable gardening at home, school, or community. These vegetable gardens will lead to an awareness of the value of vegetables to health and the availability, accessibility, and affordability of nutritious food. That in turn will lead to increased food security, family consumption, and nutrition.
Araw po, ako po si Vincent Jr. ng Bohol. Isa po kaming mag-home gardening nung nag-close yung kumpanyang pinagtatrabahoan ko dahil sa pandemya. Para ma-divert ang isipan ko sa pag-alala, naisipan namin mag-asawa na mag-home gardening. Yung 4 kong anak, ang taga-dilig, minsan tumutulong din sila sa mag-harvest. Ang laking tulong ng home gardening sa amin, maliban sa Hindi kami nag-alala kung saan kukuha ng mauulam. Nakakaalis din ito ng pagod at stress.
My second suggestion widens the food security coverage in the community or barangay with a 1 hectare planting area. We call this program Gulayamanan. Gulayamanan combines VeggiEskwela and sustainable livelihood. Gulayamanan creates livelihood for enrolled participants, improving the barangay economy, making available fresh and nutritious food within the community for food security and improved family nutrition. Gulayamanan also has a positive impact to the environment with a focus on natural farming, recycling, and food waste composting. We request a 1 hectare planting area from the LGU, open to sunlight and with an available water supply. This 1 hectare is divided into 50 by 200 square meter plots, 1 plot per participant. Each participant will plant in his own plot, gather his own harvest, and sell this as his own individual income. These 50 cluster gardens can feed 250 family members and another 400 families or 2,000 individuals in the community surrounding the planting area. Each cluster garden will produce a variety of vegetables, what you would normally find in the market. Beginning in 2021, we have implemented Gulayamanan in Tacloban City, in Lian, Batangas, and San Ildefonso, Bulacan. Ongoing is Gulayamanan in Bantayan, Cebu, fully supported by the LGU. In this slide, we can see the before and after of Gulayamanan, Lian, Batangas. Our farmers may be asking, where is our market? They are all around you. You need to set up your own stall or a common talipapa in collaboration with the barangay and other growers, and your buyers will come to you. If you are producing more than your barangay can consume, you can expand to the neighboring barangays, including the poblacion, but you are still operating within a limited geographic area, shortening the vegetables value chain. Additionally, you are selling directly to consumers at retail price, which can be 4 times the farm gate price. Shorten the supply chain and earn more for your crops. This is Arvin Dadison from Gulayamanan, Tacloban. In the first 4 months of harvesting, he harvested 506 kilos of vegetables from his 200 square meter plot, earning 25,840. He was very happy because prior to this, he had no livelihood. My third set of suggestions cover food security at the LGU level, city or municipality, and involves farmers for a wider coverage and production level. It has the same planting design of a mixed crop, planting all varieties that consumers like to eat within the LGU. We call this program Veggie Sapat. Wait, one more. With Veggie Sapat, our vegetable value chain is very much shortened, operating only within an LGU. Our farmers are able to sell at close to retail price to a local consolidator, maybe one among themselves or their association, located close to or even within the poblacion market. Shorter travel time and total time to market for the vegetables they grow, resulting in savings or income increase for the farmers and a lower carbon footprint for our planet. Okay, my last suggestion for LGUs is to prepare a food security map. We need to ask ourselves 4 questions. What do we need? How much food does our barangay or LGU consume by type of food per month? What do we grow or produce within the barangay or LGU? What do our neighboring barangays or LGU produce? Is there a gap? How can we close the gap? Let us feed our people strategically and purposively from within the LGU.
Salamat Holcim! Salamat East West Team Foundation!
That always makes me laugh. So, let's all work together to address the burning issue of food security and its resultant malnutrition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bing. Such nice practical suggestions at the family level, the group level, and the barangay or even LGU level. So I think, lots of practice and experience we can learn from. Our third speaker is from Ayala Foundation. She works on the corporate citizenship and volunteerism side of the foundation. And for today, she is also wearing a globe hat because she will explain Ayala Foundation's participation and implementation in Globe's Hapag Movement. Okay? And it's I guess a food relief program that Globe funds, and Ayala Foundation happens to be one of the biggest operators behind this project. So let's please welcome Cel Amores from Ayala Foundation.
Thank you, Bill. Actually, I was listening to the other speakers. I was a little overwhelmed by the things that you do. And I'm also happy to know the back end because what we do at Ayala Foundation and together with Globe is more towards the consumer side. So it's nice to know how the value chain works and how hard many people like you have been working to really strengthen and cut short, ma'am, Bing, the travel time and to make sure that we have fresh food on the table. So my name is Cel, by the way. I'm from Ayala Foundation. We are one of 3 or 4 implementers of the Globe of Goods Hapag project. Hapag is essentially a food relief program that was inspired by another food relief program of the Ayala Group of Companies. I will not go through this because this has been really tackled very, very well. And I'll go straight here. Hapag Movement essentially leverages on the use of technology to be able to raise funds for us to be able to help communities in feeding programs. Essentially, this was inspired by a project called Project Kaakay. This was done during 2021, which was also inspired by another program that Bill headed, the Project Pananagutan. So it was also it created an ecosystem of caring, not just within the Ayala Group, but also its partners. So Project Kaakay, what we did there was that realizing that the very immediate requirements, the very immediate needs of communities right off the pandemic, which was when the economy was starting to open and people were starting to move about, was really food and livelihood. So we tried to see how we can address both pain points from a corporate level. This was really a coming of the minds of the CEOs and other management members of the Ayala Group, and they said, why don't we do a feeding program? Of course, we cannot feed everybody. So we said, why don't we do a supplemental feeding program that should be something that will impact the livelihood as well of those people or families that we feed. So the system that we did for Project Kaakay was we sought out the help of LGUs, DSWD, and other people on the ground, NGOs like Berlani Foundation, Tulay ng Kabataan in some areas, but we worked mainly in Metro Manila. We were able to gather the names. We were able to profile some 11,200 families in 16 cities and 1 municipality in Metro Manila. So we fed them gulay, which came from farmers in Benguet and Nueva Ecija, and then rice coming from Isabela farmers. So, Ma'am Bing, we also tried to shorten the value chain. We tried to do away with the middlemen, but at first there was a little bit of politics there. So we really tried, not politics involving LGUs, but really how do you shorten the travel time? You don't have to go to the Bagsakan, etc. So we were lucky to have found 2 former employees of the Ayala Group from Easy Motors Bill who were into helping farmers in Benguet. So hindi sila takot. They were not afraid to, they said, we are going to cut short the model. I think Henry was really able to illustrate that through the model that he shared. So what we were able to do is, for 12 weeks, we were able to give rice and vegetables, fresh vegetables coming from the farmers in Benguet, to families in Metro Manila. We gave them that twice a week for 12 weeks. What was the qualification? We said to our NGO partners and to LGU partners, choose a family whose head of family has lost his job or has their business died down because of the pandemic. So those were the only 2 qualifications. So for the next 12 weeks, we gave them sustenance. So they were able to pay for some of their bills. They were able to help buy materials for their kids' schooling. In other words, we created something that provided them a bit of relief. And then we got to encounter some mothers, specifically from Quezon City. They were, in fact, enrolled in a baking class of TESDA. And then when the pandemic hit, all of a sudden, they didn't know where to find their sustenance. It so happened that Kaakay came in and helped them, and they were able to group themselves together. And we told them, hey, we're feeding 11,200 families anyway. Can you bake bread for them? So in a span of 12 weeks, they earned at least about $1 million for their group. And that got it rolling, and now they're organized as a cooperative. But that's just one success story. Having seen all your presentations, I know we've just scratched a bit of what the bigger problem really is. So Globe, after we ended the Project Kaakay sometime in early 2022, Globe said, we shouldn't stop doing this. So they said, how do we leverage now technology to keep on doing what we do? So the Hapag Movement was born. Essentially, the Hapag Movement is not just something that the Ayala Group does. It's also something that other corporates contribute to. SM contributes if you don't use up your SMAC rewards, they go to Hapag. Some of it go to Hapag. There are other creative ways like Chef Jesse's fine dining restaurant. There are viands there, like for example, if she serves kare-kare, half or all of the proceeds, if you buy kare-kare, go to the Hapag Movement. So the Rotary Club donates, etc. So it's really people coming together, to fund something that will go towards hunger alleviation. That was the biggest pain point that we wanted to address. Now, Hapag has already reached or has already served at least 70,000 families. We've done this in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. We've gone to as far as Basilan. When we help students, we usually go there because there's a feeding program done by DepEd. We usually enter the cycle of the feeding program where there are gaps. Because during a regular school day or school week or the school year, the stunted, the wasted children, they get fed. But what the Celerina people told us, I think Cesar Austere is here. He was one of those that were in the audience and shared with us that those kids that you actually feed in school, you weigh them before they enter. And when they weighed out before going to a vacation, they're already healthy. They've achieved their minimum weight requirement. But when they go on vacation, they go back to their stunted, wasted weight. So what we do is we positioned Hapag to enter into that gap period. So we say, hello, school, when are you ending your feeding program? So when they say, we're going to end it February, can we enter middle of January? So that we cover the vacation time when food is not being served in school already. So we enter the gap period because that's also a feedback we got from the LGU. The funds are not available already when kids are out of school. There. So in communities, what we try to do as well is we try to look for communities that are already organized, much like what you do, Henry and John. You've already, they already have a system. But unlike you do technical interventions, we do augmentation. Like for example, where can we enter? Like for example, do you need expertise here? That's when we look for an expert and bring them over. So we don't do it ourselves. We try to intervene. We try to fill the gaps. Also, in as far as tech is concerned, we do this in communities that we work with, especially in areas where it's most needed. For example, in Basilan, we were trying to work with a community of single mothers. They were planting chili. They said, this is all they know because they're a community of farmers and the women also want to be farmers. But they said, we plant, but we don't know how to process. So we brought in somebody who can help them with the processing so that they can do value add for their produce and bring them to market. So it nets them more. So Hapag Movement is not just food supplementation. In a case-to-case basis, when the organization that we help is ready for it, we also intervene with small seed capitals for them to get going or for them to enter the next level. But our bottom line has always been this activity, your intervention has to help put food on your table. So this may sound a little simplistic compared to what you already presented, but I think the ecosystem is that all of us should be working together. NGOs, LGU, we're very happy to be working with LGUs. And of course, people like you, because you've built, given us a whole picture. And I realized while sitting back there, I said, hey, we're not even touching 1% of the need of the whole country. So we'd be happy to explore whatever we can with organizations like what John leads and Henry and Bing and maybe later Quezon City, because we're learning a lot and we know we can learn a lot and more, we can do a lot when we work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Sil. You're correct. We're really barely scratching the surface of the problem here. I remember in one of our SBN meetings, we went through an exercise led by John, trying to compute how much each of us grow or donate or spend on food relief relative to what the country needs. And the number is really small. It's very, very small. So I think our view here is, the more efforts together along the entire spectrum of the problem, it's going to be very, very useful for us. Now, our next speaker will give us the LGU perspective because she happens to, she's the officer in charge of the nutrition section of the Quezon City Health Department. And she leads several initiatives in healthy food, healthy public food procurement, promoting healthy diet in schools, and implementing calorie labeling in food establishments in Quezon City. So when we wrote Mayor Joy and asked if who would be best to represent Quezon City, she immediately told us to call up Jirah Aisa Sideco to join us from QC. So Jai is our lone representative from LGUs, but it's the biggest LGU in the country, actually. So I think we're going to learn a lot from how an LGU tackles this problem of nutrition in their city. So Jai, let's welcome Jirah Aisa Sideco.
A pleasant afternoon to everyone. Again, I am Jirah Aisa Sideco, the city nutritionist of the Quezon City government. So under the progressive leadership of Mayor Joy Belmonte, we have been a pioneer on a number of policies when it comes to food security and malnutrition. She has this flagship program, The Joy of Urban Farming, from which you may have already heard. It started during her term as vice mayor in 2010 and has since scaled up with the involvement of our key stakeholders, especially during the pandemic, where it has provided green jobs to those who were unemployed. So in the Philippines, Quezon City is the most populous city with over 3 million residents with 142 barangays. It spans 171.7 square kilometers, and this is a home to diverse range of businesses from small enterprises to large corporations. So this diversity presents unique challenges as well as opportunities in implementing health policies that could cater to various sectors. Allow me to share the Quezon City nutrition situation based on our Operation Timbang Plus in 2024. The data shows that among under 5 children, the prevalence of underweight, overweight, wasting, and stunting, though with low level of public health significance, indicates a need for continued focus on both on undernutrition and overnutrition. And for our school children, we have assessed over 261,314 public elementary students, and the data shows that both stunting and overweight is at the medium level of public health significance. So this highlights the importance of intervening not only at the early childhood stages, but throughout the school years to curb malnutrition. So just like what has been mentioned earlier, that there is a gap between the implementation of dietary supplementation program in schools, but in Quezon City, we have passed an ordinance mandating all barangays to allocate 1% or 100,000, whichever is higher, for nutrition programs, and we have emphasized in the implementing rules and regulations, which is a guide for our barangays to implement dietary supplementation programs with nutrition education during the time that the school children is on vacation. So this has really helped us and guided our barangays to sustain our activities when it comes to nutrition. So for our vital health statistics in 2023, hypertension, cancer, and diabetes mellitus remain to be the top causes of mortality in Quezon City, while heart disease and diabetes is the top causes of morbidity across all ages. So this highlights the importance of addressing nutrition across all ages to improve our public health outcomes. So clearly, malnutrition is a problem that knows no age, no gender, no income class, and it affects us all. But it is also a problem that we as a government and as a community can and must address. That is why the Quezon City government places health and nutrition at the top of its priorities. So under the leadership of Mayor Joy Belmonte, the Quezon City Nutrition Committee was organized with an allocated budget of over 45 million for nutrition initiatives, and we are focused on executing the 3-year Quezon City Nutrition Action Plan. And we recognize that malnutrition is a complex issue with all these forms, the undernutrition, overnutrition, and micronutrient deficiencies. So with all its multiple causes, our interventions must be equally multidimensional. That is why we are focusing on both individual systems level and food systems level. So on the individual systems level, we implement nutrition education programs that empower people to have healthier food choices and make dietary behaviors based on their stage of life. And we have the dietary supplementation program, which bridges the gap in essential nutrients for growth and development. However, we understand that educating individuals alone isn't enough if the environment they live in doesn't support healthier food choices. That is why we adopt the food systems level approach that would make sure that our policies and initiatives are nutrition sensitive and promotes food security and healthier food environment. So in our journey towards ensuring food security and addressing malnutrition, the transition from policy to program is very crucial. And having policies in place lays the foundation for meaningful programs, as this can foster collaboration from various stakeholders. So one example is the scaling up of the Bundle of Joy program. This is the first 1,000 days program of Quezon City, which we have provided fresh vegetables from local urban farms and links beneficiaries with community gardens in their respective barangays. So we have also utilized the produce from our local urban farms for incentivizing our beneficiaries who are part of our regular programs. So we have this program, milk letting activity, wherein we encourage the donation of breast milk from our lactating mothers. And in turn, they have subsidized fee in our Quezon City General Hospital, and they have free vegetables. And to have a greater reach, just like what I have mentioned earlier, we have passed the ordinance mandating the barangays to have 1% budget on barangay nutrition program. So they can adapt the city program to their barangay level. So, Bundle of Joy program. So this targets the nutritionally at-risk pregnant mothers, providing essential maternal and child care packages until their child reaches 2 years old. So this started in 2017 and is still ongoing until this year. So this is a monitoring of their growth and development until the child reaches 2 years old. And for those who are identified with developmental delays, they are referred to our Kabahagi Center for rehabilitation. We have child-friendly spaces as our advocacy for overweight and obesity. So we have a policy or ordinance number SP 3051. This was enacted in 2021 to institutionalize the establishment of safe, nurturing environments for our children. And we have the healthy diet in schools and the most child-friendly school canteen. So this aligns with the DepEd Order number 13, which should follow the traffic light system in school canteens. And we also have the ordinance on most child-friendly school canteen, which incentivizes schools to prioritize the nutritional well-being of their school children. And we have this healthy public food procurement policy, which focuses on the food environment. So all foods procured in the Quezon City government that is offered in our departmental meetings, local government hospitals, and we have the institutional facilities for children in conflict with law. They are provided with nutritious foods that is based on the Quezon City nutrition standards. So not only that, but it also emphasizes the link between local urban farmers in Quezon City so that they will be the source of vegetables when it comes to food procurement. So we have developed a material, and there is a directory of local urban farms in Quezon City. And the calorie labeling, which will be implemented next year, this would empower our Quezon City citizens to make informed, healthier food choices. So just like what Mr. John has mentioned, we have to shape the demand for healthier food choices. And this is one of the initiatives that we have passed in 2024. So for the key actions, we have ensured open policy making to make sure that our policy is inclusive and all those who are affected will be involved in the policy making. And to build a strong evidence base, so all data-driven information should be taken into consideration when it comes to developing policies on non-communicable diseases and malnutrition. And we engage with stakeholders to have a greater reach and impact and to scale up what is the programs that we are implementing in the government. So that's all for my presentation, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Jai. I'm curious to find out if other cities have similar programs to what you do. And as a nutritionist, actually, in QC, do other cities have an official nutritionist position? Are they filled? Oh, really? That's good. Good to know. We haven't seen that, haven't learned too much about that yet. But thanks for the presentation. For our last speaker, we'll switch gears to a topic that I think does not, it's not covered much, you know, in discussions on food and nutrition and food security. But I notice in every discussion on food, there are a few ironies about the agricultural sector and the food sector. One of them is that the people who produce the food are among the hungriest people. They cannot afford their own food, which is kind of ironic and quite incredible, actually. The second is that for a country which has high level of stuntedness and wasting, it's also the volume of food waste there is, of surplus food. And we always wonder, you know, what happens to all this food? Well, I think we're about to find out in this next presentation. Our next speaker is Jomar Flores, Executive Director of Rise Against Hunger Philippines, who has had experience in many projects, foreign-funded projects, I guess, in this particular space. Interestingly enough, his background is also outside of this space, having been an award-winning playwright, filmmaker, and social activist. So let's please welcome Jomar Flores from Rise Against Hunger.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me this afternoon, and let me proceed with my presentation. So, wow, what happened? Okay, who we are. So, Rise Against Hunger Philippines is a member of the Global Confederation of Rise Against Hunger. We have offices in 6 countries, and we are also a member of the Global Food Banking Network. We are the first and only national food bank in the Philippines. And as you can see, our mission is really to grow a national movement to end hunger. So maybe I'm going to skip some of the slides because these were already discussed. Okay, I'd like to show this slide because it's really appalling when you look at the number of children that die daily because of malnutrition and hunger. 95 Filipino children. And when you look at, I don't know about the figures said by John, but what is being broadcast is that 33% of Philippine children are actually stunted, one of the highest in the world. When you think about that, 33% of Filipino children, 33% of all the future Filipino producers and leaders are actually stunted. And when you look at stunting, it actually leads to mental retardation, which is to say they cannot function their full mental capacity. So what will become of our country when a third of our future generation cannot function mentally properly? So it leads to intergenerational poverty and hunger, and that has to end. The cycle of violence, I call it violence because I think it's immoral that we are allowing this to happen. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about the different programs. We also do dietary supplementation program. The reason why I'm talking about these different programs in a nutshell is because I'm also looking at opportunities for collaboration amongst the people in the audience as well as those who are in the Zoom call. No? So we operate in Taguig City, Manila City, Laguna, Pampanga, and Palawan. We have opportunities actually to conduct this dietary supplementation program in other areas. So if you're interested, we'd like to hear from you. We work with local communities, NGOs, and we support DSWD as well as DepEd. The government's dietary supplementation is really flawed because it only covers 120 days. But how many? That's about 6 months, right? But the school year is 10 months. So what will happen to these kids after your feeding program? Even with DepEd's feeding program, they only cover what you call the severely wasted and wasted children. And at best, they're not even able to cover 100% of those who are considered wasted. They don't do blanket feeding simply because there's not enough money available for their feeding programs. The DSW claims that they do some sort of blanket feeding amongst children under 5 in the daycare schools. But when you look at other far-flung communities, that does not really happen because, again, simply lack of funding. Rise Against Hunger is fully funded by private sector. We don't get any funding. We knock at the doors of these BPOs, and we're able to leverage our international connections because of this. So most of our donors actually come from the American BPOs because our headquarters in the US. So we're able to mobilize a lot of this private sector support. Food banking. Globally, there are about 30% of all food that is produced in the system are actually lost. And our mantra is that 30% is actually enough to feed all hungry people. So But it was only in 2019 that we were able to set the first food bank in the Philippines. There were other attempts to put up their food bank, but mostly these are like community pantries or short feeding programs, or when somebody has money, then they will give out ayuda. But that's not really what food banking is all about. It's a misnomer when people call themselves food banks when they really don't operate like a food bank. So we work with the Global Food Banking Network. We're also funded with the Global Food Banking Network, which has members in 50 countries. There are about 300 members of us. Right now, we're able to set up another food bank in Cebu together with Simply Share Foundation, and we're opening another food bank later this month together with Angat Buhay of the former Vice President Elena. And that will be in Naga City. We are open for other food banks to operate other food banks. Currently, we operate what we call virtual food banking from as far north as Tugigaraw to down south to even to Lanao del Sur. So if you're interested to partner with us, there's food available. There's really food available. It's just lost in the system. But we can, I just came from a meeting in Bangkok sponsored by the Rockefeller Foundation. It talks about climate change. Food waste contributes about 10% of methane gas. So it's a big contributor to greenhouse gas emission. But when we try to rescue that food, instead of feeding the landfill, why don't we feed people? So the logic is very, very simple. So we work with a lot of manufacturers. Practically, the major manufacturers donate to us. And it was actually opportune that we were able to do this before the pandemic, because when the pandemic hit us, we were there to really rescue the food that was not manufactured anymore, no? Or distributed. We also operate a jeepney kitchen and food bank because we believe that food should be local. So we retrofitted a jeepney into a mobile food bank. It goes around different areas, barangays in Metro Manila, and we serve about 500 families every time it goes out. Again, we're open to collaboration. You can sponsor an outing of the jeepney kitchen. It can go out to your areas. Sustainable agriculture. Again, East-West Seed Foundation is already doing this. We have to help our farmers, basically. A World Bank report said that the backbone of any nutrition and food security program should be agriculture, and we believe in that. So we also do sustainable agriculture practices, and we promote that. We do agriculture recovery. There was a mention of Nueva Vizcaya Agricultural Terminal. We did a study there in which we showed that about 50% of all vegetables brought down to the Bagsakan or NVAT are actually lost. They're not procured by the traders because of simple reasons like cosmetic reasons. They're either too ugly, too large, or too small. So what we do, we have a barter system wherein we trade available or unsold vegetables for shelf-stable items, and then we channel these vegetables to about 10 elementary schools in Nueva Vizcaya, and we're able to feed 5,000 children. Lately, we set up a sky farm. So there's a lot of real estate available in the urban areas, a lot of spaces up there that can be planted. So we have an operating sky farm right now in Ortigas, also in McKinley. So what we do, we set up hydroponic farms. We sell these high-valued vegetables to nearby restaurants and cafes, and we use the proceeds from that to support our feeding programs. Because obviously, children will not eat the salad vegetables. It's very difficult to make them eat that. Livelihood programs, we also do this. We teach women basically how to do jewelry making, manicure, pedicure, simple things that they can, like for example, with manicure fair, you don't need to invest a lot in your capital because you can just go out with your nippers and acetone and serve people, no? Your direct neighbors. Disaster response, obviously we also respond to all kinds of disasters, from fire to earthquake to volcanic eruptions, typhoons. And again, there are opportunities for collaboration here. We work with LMP, the League of Municipalities of the Philippines. They call on us. If they need food, then we can deliver food to disaster areas. Meal packaging events, we bring the experience of volunteerism so companies can organize volunteer engagement programs and they can pack our ready-to-cook rice meals, which are cooked as congis or lugaws. In 2023, we're able to reach over 1.5 million individuals for our food bank. We're able to rescue 196,000 kilos of food, and we were able to serve almost 20,000 hot meals through the jeepney kitchen. And then, I don't know whether we still have time to show this video.
In the heart of Magdalena, Laguna, Rise Against Hunger Philippines is making a difference. Meet one of our assisted families where our dietary supplementation program for school children is changing lives. Undernourishment among school children is a concerning public health issue, especially in rural areas. But thanks to supporters like you, we're addressing this problem. Our school-based DSP provides nutritious diets, improving food security and nutritional status. Our goal? To maintain or improve the nutrition of these children. For the whole school year, we provided daily rice soy meal supplementation, ensuring each child received the nutrients they needed to thrive. But we didn't stop there. We also offered nutrition education and distributed food packs to families, empowering them to make healthier food choices. Thanks to our generous donors like the Global Food Banking Network, we served over 46,000 meals to school children in Laguna in 2023. We assessed the body mass index of around 300 children in Magdalena, and we saw improvements. After 10 months, there was a 6% increase in children with a normal BMI for their age. Cases of thinness, severe thinness, and obesity decreased.
Sa dalawa ko pong anak, yung isa po.
So, I just have to cut that short. So right now we have about 87 donors. We have 65 impact partners. So if you're interested, these are our contact numbers and email and partner with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jomar. I read up a little bit about your organization before this meeting, but I didn't realize you do so much more. So thank you for that presentation. At this point, I'd like to invite all our speakers and panelists to join me up front here and take on a few questions. Let me invite John and Henry, Bing, Sel, Jai, and Jomar. Okay, thank you. I'd like to, of course, thank the panel for the presentations, and we'll open up the floor to questions. We take questions here from inside Aboitiz tech space, and we take questions also from Zoom and Facebook. Okay, would anyone like to ask the first question? Yes, I see one here. If you could kindly introduce yourself and to whom you're asking the question.
So hi, I'm Erica. I'm an analyst, and I'm asking the question maybe for Mr. John.
or anyone. So just hope to be clarified on the definition of stunted. How is it measured to be able to qualify as stunted? So is it in comparison against a standard height and weight that is ideal specifically for Filipinos or maybe Asian children that can be considered healthy? Or is it against some universal standard of a child's ideal height and weight at certain ages? So in which case, if we are using some universal standard of measurement for us to define stunted, we know that Filipinos or Asians tend to be naturally shorter in height than, let's say, American or European counterparts, for example. So was genetic composition or racial standard attributes in stages of growth considered in setting the definition? And was their food intake that fall under nutritious also factored in? Or just height and weight as they're stunted, and they're stunted if they fall short against the ideal measures?
Okay, so basically you're looking at the standard that's being used, right? And one of the arguments is that maybe we are naturally smaller than a non-Asian population, for instance. Okay, so let's ask Jai, because Jai is the nutritionist among the panel, and can tell us what are the standards for defining stuntedness and wasting.
Ano mo si Gabriel? Pasabi mo si Gabriel, ha? Para ano, paano, ha?
So for stunting, it is based on the...
Hindi, okay lang yun. Sabihin, meron kami, may meeting kasi kami ngayon.
For stunting, it is based on the WHO child growth standards comparing the height for age. That is where we identify if the child is stunting or severely stunted. And for the question on having the innately small feature of children, that is something that we have already experienced when it comes to the implementation of programs. But as we identify those children at the age of 0 to 23 months old, we ensure that we monitor them. We provide them with essential childcare packages, providing them with dietary supplementation programs when their intake is not at par with the recommended energy intake. And we provide them with micronutrient supplementation. And after everything is exhausted, all the interventions are exhausted, we monitor them when it comes to the school age. When they go to school and they still have low height for age, so we prevent at that point being wasted, because being wasted or having low weight for height increases their risk for mortality.
Jai, can you also talk about kids who are both stunted and wasted?
There are also cases wherein children are both stunting and wasted. But what we evaluate when it comes to those indicators is the increase or improvement in their weight. And it is very hard for us to really increase their height. So that is what we monitor when it comes to the implementation of programs.
So I think what's important to remember is that this is an impact that's not just physical, but actually cognitive. Okay, so this is thinking, and I think when John opened, he talked about our human index, our human capital index, and our potential, and we're actually only going to realize about 50% of that, and a lot of that is attributable to poor nutrition. So a combination of poor nutrition and poor education over a lifespan of a person, the person will not be as productive as they should be. So we have to catch it quite early. So I think that's why Jai's program works at a very early age. No? Other questions? I've got a question here coming in from Zoom. Henry, this is for you. What are your thoughts on this perennial problem of oversupply of, a certain crop, and then they end up throwing it because there's no market for it. So sometimes we see oversupply of carrots or oversupply of tomatoes or things like this. You've talked about, scheduling the supply chain. So maybe explain a little bit more.
All right. Yeah. In the case of oversupply or undersupply, sometimes it is actually an oversupply because most of our farmers happen to follow seasons. It is actually climate based, or that's actually what the tradition has been that time of year. They start planting carrots and they harvest carrots at relatively around the same time. It's a change management issue, or it's actually a journey to actually ask these farmers to do something else and plant something else. It doesn't come as naturally to them saying, if I want something that is actually a bit more, shall we say, more assured in terms of income, I'll plant something else. Most of our farmers are very attuned to monocropping. So I was actually in Benguet at some point, and I asked them if you should probably take a look at your planting as a portfolio, right? If you have two crops, then it's a 50-50 that you probably end up with nothing. They said, well, we're just used to planting what we plant ever since, and to some extent they were implying that you're somebody new, not even going to believe what you're saying. So it is actually sometimes cultural, sometimes it is because of habit. And if you cannot change that, then sometimes you will need to take a look at what other things you can do after they have actually planted, or they have harvested. It can be coming up with post-harvest facilities. Everybody says, oh, if there's actually an excess in tomatoes, then let's do tomato paste. Easier said than done, right? I mean, I always find that in the chat groups, right? Oh, we should create ketchup, tomato paste. I'm sorry, but it is not that direct. It's not as straightforward, right? But if we were going to fund communities to actually do their own tomato paste at a certain level, then I guess that's actually something that is actually more actionable, right? Rather than everything on comments on Facebook.
So, but Henry, are you able to say, okay, farmers used to planting a certain crop and out of habit they do it? Are you able to persuade them to, say, stagger their planting schedule so that they end up staggering the harvest and evens out the supply a little bit? Does that work?
Thank goodness there are people who listen.
Okay.
So there are instances. So that's actually the capacity building that we do on the communities. Like, whereas they're used to actually just planting, let's say, 20 hectares of cabbage, for instance, or eggplant. What we try to do is to tell them, okay, what we need is a steady supply of eggplants or cabbage, X tons every week, which means after every 7 days, they start planting a new batch. Yeah, so it's basically a succession of sorts. So it's really more like it's like an assembly line of sorts, right? We try to put in some tenets of manufacturing in there so that they don't harvest all at the same time. And the thing is, sometimes we actually ask them to go on contract with us. So it's an assured buy from us, right? If you do, let's say, 2 tons of calabasa or 2 tons of eggplant on staggered basis, regardless of the prices, we put the benchmark in terms of the price, and they're assured of that price. Unfortunately, not all would believe that type of business, of that way of doing business. So for us, if our communities are actually more resistant to these ups and downs of prices because they've already committed to a price, right? Whereas most farmers would happen to insist on doing it their way.
Bing, I have a question for you. How do you talk about LGUs? How do you persuade LGUs to follow your model when many LGUs are interested in reclassifying land so they can get more, collect higher property taxes? How do you persuade them to follow your way?
How do we partner with LGUs? So we normally reach out first to the municipal agriculturists and we ask her or him if they are interested in our Gulayamanan. Now, depends kasi who will fund the project. If we have a partner outside the LGU who will provide the funds, then the LGU is more welcoming, right? We say we will do everything for you. You just give us 1 hectare planting area with a water supply. And a lot of them will say yes, especially those LGUs. I notice nowadays, a lot of LGUs are setting up what they call eco-farms within their LGUs. The one we did for Tacloban was within the Tacloban City Eco-Farm. Our partner in that case was PSFI, Filipino Pinashell. So that one, we just reached out and they said yes, they have a 1 hectare within the eco park. So they already had land allocated for this kind of project. The other areas, we we asked, you have 1 hectare? What is surprising is Bantayan, Cebu. They not only gave us the 1 hectare, they gave us the funds to implement. So we have no external partner for Bantayan, Cebu. So I think that also reflects on the importance, the growing importance LGUs are giving to food security, that they are allocating budgets for it.
I have a question for Jai. I guess maybe someone is commenting on the example of Quezon City. Is there a national government policy that, let's say coming from the ILG that tells all the cities what to do or guides all the cities what to do with respect to food security and nutrition?
There is a Philippine Plan of Action for Nutrition, which is a framework for all local government units. It consists of the programs and strategies as well as the enabling strategies that could help the local government unit to implement it at the city level and at the barangay level. And it is up to the local government unit to adopt policies and adopt innovative policies that could help our barangays to implement these programs.
Okay, so yeah, we've seen the Philippine Plan of Action. I think, John, that's produced by National Nutrition Council, if I'm not mistaken, right? They're here, no? NNC. That's a document I think that maybe the average Filipino is not aware of. That there's such a thing called the Philippine Plan of Action on Nutrition. Maybe later we should, I don't know if it's available online, we should be able to, maybe it is, right? Because I remember reading my copy online. So maybe later on we should post up the link so people can, for those people who want to read up more about the Philippine Plan of Action against, on nutrition. Okay, I've got a question here. Okay, now it seems like we have a lot of students watching, so this must be, are we on class hours, I guess, right? Here's one saying, hello po, I am Mikey, a grade 9 student from John Dewey School for Children. I'm not sure where John Dewey is located. This question can be answered by anyone from the panel. How can we ensure that we release little to no CO2 in the air while trading, transporting the crops made by our farmers? Maybe Henry, or being you're the one, because Henry, you have managed to transport the vegetables, address the backhaul, and I think, if I remember, you have quite low spoilage rates as well. So what's the secret?
Yeah, so when you talk about CO2 emissions, it's really taking a look at the logistics of how do you sequence deliveries, trying to optimize them, optimizing routes. Like for instance, if a truck is going to pick up goods from several farms, then it has to be coordinated. which means that the time you plant and the time for harvesting has to be in sync as well. You also need to make sure that farmers actually do what they promise. Because sometimes they say, yes, I'll plant on this date, but they'll slip by a date. Therefore, on that exact date where you need the supply, there's going to be an issue in terms of pickups. So it's really a concerted effort from the production side to make sure that the logistics pieces really fall into place to ensure that the trucks actually are maximized. Now that's one thing. Second is that don't we find it curious that we actually load trucks into our ships for us to transport goods? What if we altogether eliminated trucks or minimized trucks and just transported food? We can actually, so the question is there because in the country we always ferry food via trucks, and that also has weight, that also consumes energy, that also emits CO2. If we were to actually have a ship, for instance, 5,000 metric tons, consolidate at a particular port of origin, load up all these things in sequence, like it's all planned, and then move it across in bulk, that is going to actually cut down the cost of logistics and our CO2 emissions. But the problem there is we just do not talk to one another to consolidate, right? It's always easier for me to sort out my issues and say, yes, use a truck. Load it up with 30 tons or 40 tons of corn. I don't have to coordinate with anybody, right? But we are working with a couple of guys in the business for ports, trying to come up with something like a UP Ikot, it's like drop off food or load up food, and then on the next port you drop all those things. But it's actually in sequence. The challenge now is how do you come up with 5,000 metric tons of food? Because nobody considers the volumes that are involved. And therefore we are stuck using trucks. The other solution is making use of EV. There are actually providers already of EV trucks or hybrids, right? I don't want to go into that discourse about what happens to the batteries after. That's a discussion after several years. But EV trucks is also another option. Yeah, but it is not actually used as much yet.
Yeah, I agree with EV trucks. We've just been meeting with EV truck providers, and we see the possibilities there. And once they are able to solve their range problems, and as the charger infrastructure grows, it becomes easier and easier. Jomar, a question for Rise Against Hunger. You're working a lot. I noticed, you have a lot of partners. So I guess these are the food manufacturers. What are they doing? Are they giving you excess supply that they're producing? How does that work?
Our food manufacturers donate to us their surplus food. They're also near expiration food items, returned to vendors. So whatever, for many reasons, a lot of this food are not sold at the retail market. So normally they would end up just throwing them away and actually contracting a third party to destroy them. So when we went to them, we told them why you need to destroy them when they're perfectly still edible. And then because we're PCNC accredited, we could give them certificates of donation. So it's a win-win situation. They lessen the cost for disposal, and at the same time, they get some sort of tax rebate through the certificate of donations that we provide them.
Okay. Now, someone in the audience on Zoom texted and said, from Cebu, and they'd like to know more about Rise Against Hunger, and they left me an email address, but maybe we should post your email address as well later for anybody in the audience who might want to contact you and help. So that's great. I mean, part of the intention here is to find partners, no? Cel, my question is for you, for Ayala Foundation and for Globe. The food, where are you sourcing it from? Because I noticed in Bing's presentation, she tries to source everything as close to the point of consumption as possible. Is that something that you are also doing at the Ayala Foundation?
Yes. Even during our interventions for disaster operations, if there are local manufacturers or local food suppliers, we want to get from those that are nearest the disaster area. In the case of Hapag, we try to source from the main suppliers. Like if we're getting food for Metro Manila, normally we talk to farmers from Benguet, Nueva Ecija, through we have a consolidator. We also work closely with the Ateneo Center for Educational Development. They've been working with the farmers for quite a time now. We get the gulay really fresh and really cheap as compared to us getting from Balintawak before. So we've learned how the process goes, but as much as possible, we get from the nearest local supplier, especially during disasters, to spur local economies.
No, that's a great plan. Thanks, Sel. John, you've been at this for a few years now. SBN, meeting a lot of companies, bringing people together. What are the most outstanding examples you have seen? Anything, whether it's production to value chain to food distribution. What are the best examples or models you've seen so far?
Thanks, Bill. Currently, we have 40 plus members. Every member is very special. You know about what Henry does, what Bing does. But here we have members, the Roots to Shoots program of PAM. It's fantastic. They combine planting, teaching people how to farm, then how to have clean water, how to wash their hands, how to cook, how to feed themselves. It's a fantastic program. Please support that. We have urban farms. They take nice spaces in the city and they actually have wonderful organic farms. I don't know if we have any other members here, but we have 40 plus and each one is doing something special. I will say though that we do have a gap. The members are a microcosm of the entire food system and we're trying to complete every step. The Philippines is very weak in demand side management. We know how to plant, we know how to grow tomatoes, but we're very weak in shaping how people want to eat. The strong ones are the ones you see on YouTube, right? You've got the fast food companies, so super good. The coffee chains, super good. Food Panda, super good. But the kids today don't know anymore how to eat properly. And as you go to the lower income classes, sometimes the mothers become mothers very young and they don't have time to learn how to cook from their own mother, so they feed their kids hot dog and rice, and the kids get used to it. One of our SBN programs is helping schools create a protocol for their school feeding program. Gorby is very active. He's our secretariat along with these team members. You know, the worry is we create really good food for the kids and they taste it and they go, yuck, trash can. Isn't that a waste? So I think one thing we need to strengthen, we only have one member right now on the demand side and she makes cookbooks, right? But we're super weak there. We have to create more material, teach people how to cook tasty things that their kids will eat, and it has to be contemporary. And I think for the kids today, especially those who are online, if you're gonna make TikTok about how to make a really good dish, and that will go viral. I think that's one big thing, especially as Henry and Bing, right? It's vegetables. A plant-based diet is really much more affordable than a meat-based diet, and you can grow it, but we can't cook it.
Thanks, John. Bing, in your program, which is can you give us an example of one of the outstanding projects you have anywhere in the country? You mentioned you had one in Lian, Batangas, you had in different places. Which one is the best example, in terms of growing and selling and consuming food?
Well, you look at things in terms of magnitude. For example, if we do Gulayamanan, that is in the LGU or barangay, community level, we are, the direct participants are 50 households, 50 only, okay, for one planting area. So if you ask me, I like the ones that have a larger effect, for example. We are now going to do we're going to do this training for Basilan, VeggiEskwela, what we call VeggiEskwela boot camp. Okay. Now, why I like it is because the participants, this is arranged through the provincial agriculture office, or with the governor, of course. And we are going to train representatives from all the LGUs, from the municipal agriculture office of all the LGUs, plus the provincial, 30 participants. It's only a 4-day training. We call this VeggiEskwela boot camp, no? But hopefully, because it's the training of trainers, the technology we will transfer. A lot of farmers don't know about modern planting practices. No? So now we hope Basilan, which has been a bit out of things for a while, with this training, we will train the technicians per LGU, and they will cascade it to their farmers. So I like it because it's only 4 days, but the potential effect for the whole province, no? It can be quite remarkable.
Okay, sounds great. Sel, you have a potential partner.
Can I ask a question? How do we ensure sustainability? Because we're actually looking for somebody who we can also tap for some work that we're doing in Basilan.
In Basilan?
Yes.
Oh, maybe we can work together for the monitoring, for example. Yes, that would be very good because, we are a bit, we cannot stay too long in the project site. So it would be good if we could find a local partner who can help us with the monitoring of what happened after. The last day of our training is an action planning. Now, what are these local municipal agriculture officers going to do with the technology they have just learned? And they will all make an action plan, one per LGU. So we would like, of course, to track that if later on, if it is being done.
Okay, Sel, so I think maybe you have a potential partner since you're both coincidentally in Basilan. So, okay, well, these kids from John Dewey School are very, very active. I'm getting more questions here. Sel, maybe I'll ask this of you since you're representing Globe as well and Ayala. The question here is, this is from a student. We all know that every child has the right to healthy and nutritious meals. Can we leverage technology and social media to ensure that children have access to these rights?
I think Globe actually put out specific Facebook site that's dedicated to Hapag. It's under the Globe of Good banner. So if you can look up that site, there's tips there on how you apportion your food, the Pinggang Pinoy. We're actually using that model of FNRI. So it's all shared there. It may be helpful also that they repost because young people getting interested in how to eat nutritious food or mothers wanting to prepare nutritious food will really make a big difference.
Thanks. So Globe for Good or Globe of Good?
Globe of Good.
Globe of Good. So that's the Facebook page and the social media that would have tips on nutrition. And I think we'd encourage people to not only go to that page, but to share information from that page. Bing, go ahead.
We also have a page to encourage consumption, Facebook page. It's called Oh My Gulay. Oh, very easy. So actually a lot of nutrition departments share our posts.
Maybe we can cross-post.
Yes.
Sometime.
Yes, so I hope you will like and follow our Oh My Gulay. Thank you.
We're going to have to ask Gorby and the Liveable City staff to compile all the social media pages maybe and share it with the public. No? Time for one last question. Okay, go ahead here.
Sir, my name is Bert Nolasco. I'm urban farming sectoral representative of Quezon City. We have more than 170 associations composed of 17,000 urban farmers. Sir, the success of the nutrition is also the success of the food security program of the government to fight malnutrition. We're very lucky that we have a good mayor. Maybe some of the LGU will follow the same procedure that we have, that open spaces in subdivision will be used by the communities in order to plant some foods. Of course, if we have a good foods, a good sustainable nutritious values on yourself. In our city, sir, in any subdivision, if there are open spaces, then the president of the association will try to convince the community and urban farmers to plant, and then your realty tax will be deducted. This has been followed in Bacoor, Cavite, when I was being a guest speaker, and I hope it will be scattered more in different areas of LGU. And I'm also asking favor to the East-West Foundation, if you can support us by having a very good greenhouse that we can produce a good varieties tomatoes, lettuce, and different kind of expensive vegetable that the local cannot afford to buy in SNR, in SF, in different marketplace. Maybe if we have a good greenhouse, we can produce the same quality product that they have that others cannot afford to buy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Jai, the city is buying its food from local farmers, right? You mentioned. So right within the city, within the urban farmers, for instance, you are buying from them.
We are encouraging to link our urban farmers to our public suppliers, but there is actually a challenge because of the capacity of our farms to supply to the needs of the whole Quezon City government. That is why we are exploring ways on how we can really meet the demands of the Quezon City government.
Okay. Yeah, we were just talking, John and I, on the side, that actually it seems probably one of the biggest buyers of food in the country is the government. Because if I just take a look at DepEd and then DSWD, and then all the LGUs, and I take a look at Congress, they serve food every time you go there for a hearing. Huh? Di ba? I mean, we're a country that, every meeting you get served food. And every government office, you get served food. So it must be, if you put that all together, that's a very large single customer base. So maybe, the difficulty is how to meet that demand, no? So Henry, what do? We published the demand numbers.
Well, I was going to volunteer our platform to monitor the production requirements of Quezon City. So we can do that, that's one. Second is you're right. Actually, government is the biggest spender for food. In fact, in one of the provinces that we work with in the Visayas, they actually put the prices of our farmers' produce on their procurement portal, so that it's a matter of them ordering directly to farmers within their constituency.
Thank you. Sel, go ahead.
Oh, the question on Mindanao, though, that's for next year. Yeah. We need to stabilize our operations in the Visayas first. But Mindanao has always been in our sight. So probably middle of next year, we'll try to go into maybe 2 or 3 cities in Mindanao. Basilan, it sounds appealing. Yeah, honest to goodness, I think what they need is a consolidation area to actually coordinate to how food is going to be distributed in their municipalities. That's something that we're interested to pitch as well, if the governor is going to hear us out.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, please, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Frances from URC. My question is for Ms. Jai. It's about the calorie labeling in food establishment. So we now know that there's already regulation for labeling for prepackaged food, and now we are encouraging food labeling to food establishment, calorie food labeling. So how are we going to handle concerns about the potential for like halo effect, where consumers may perceive calorie labeled food as healthier overall, regardless of their nutritional content, and also potential of for negative feedback, from backlash from consumers who may be unhappy with the calorie information of the food.
Okay, so for the backlash, before we fully implement the calorie labeling, we have to develop a very comprehensive social behavior change communications campaign for our consumers to really understand what is the essence of having or posting calories in our menu boards, because we all know that calories is very technical in nature, and what we envision in Quezon City is to make it sexy for our consumers, make them realize that the calories is not the really enemy when it comes to having certain diseases. That is why we also mandated that these food establishments to have nutrients of concern like the sodium, fat, and sugar upon request of the customer. And for the first question, it's, sorry, I missed it. Yeah, the first question.
How you handle the halo effect where consumers perceiving calorie.
So that is what we actually considered prior to the development of the policy, is to not have this halo effect of not putting stickers on these food establishments, because our consumers might be confused that having calories is equivalent to being healthy. But we have emphasized this during our public consultation, that all food establishments will be posting their calories, but this would be done in phases depending on the number of branches, because we are also considering the capacity of our medium enterprises to comply with the ordinance. But what is unique with the ordinance is that we are incentivizing our small businesses, our carinderias, or small enterprises to do the same, given that we will be providing them with capacity building trainings and link them with nutrition organizations to assist them in the nutrient calculation.
Okay, thanks. I have a last question for Jomar and Bing. And it has to do with production. You know, one was that you mentioned the rooftop production that you're using in high rises in cities, and or just growing vegetables. What advice would you have for people who want to get engaged in this for the first time? Let's say they just happen to listen and say, this sounds like an interesting topic. How do I get started and what do I do?
Well, there's a lot to learn. No, a lot of people think farming is easy because the farmers, you see, they don't need a PhD to grow their vegetables. But actually, farming is a science. And if you have a very good, successful farmer, that guy is a scientist, natural scientist, natural PhD. So if you want to get into vegetable production, you learn as much as you can. There are a lot of people who do training. We do. You can ask us also if we can do training for you. We do online training day in and day out, group after group after group. So just write us and we will be happy to give you some basics. This is our VeggiEskwela online. Basic lang siya. So, yung aming ibang VeggiEskwela, you need to have some background in agri to appreciate. No, like the one I said, the boot camp, maganda, you're already an agriculturist. So it depends on where you are, where you're coming from, and what you want to achieve. You want a farm, that's wonderful. If you do, you want to set up your own vegetable farm, do it slowly. Start with 200 square meters and practice what you've learned.
Thanks, Bing. Jomar, how about
Yes,
you?
if you really want to address food insecurity, we're not talking to the plantitos and plantitas, no? We're looking at scale. It has to be scalable. Like, for example, I came from another hunger summit, and they thought it's really a good idea to teach people living in slum communities to put up their container gardens, no? So they think that that was the fault of the former Department of Agriculture. They gave out a lot of seeds, but where's the soil? Where's the sun? Okay, sabi ko sa kanila, have you been to a slum community before or recently? There's not even there's no sunlight there. How will the plants grow? And if you think you just give them seeds and they can use the basyo of the water containers, the plant will grow. That's not going to happen. And even if you successfully plant tomato plant, that's not going to solve your hunger because it takes months for that to grow. And normally it will just bear fruit for like one season lang or one planting lang. Then they thought that will grow forever and generate tomatoes. No, it doesn't work that way. So they get so disillusioned when the reality hits them. The plants are not growing. No.
Okay, thanks. We've run out of time today, but the first, sort of just reflecting on the discussion today, one, we can see that, food, of course, is important. We have a nutrition problem we need to address. A large part has to do with the production and getting the production as close to consumption points as possible, and to reduce waste and reduce loss, because you can see the volume of waste is actually enough to feed, as Jomar said, the people who are in need of the food. But bottom line is that agriculture, it's both a science and a business. And I think you've seen from the examples here cited by our panelists that there's a great deal of science that goes into it, but like in Henry's case, there's also a great deal of systems thinking and management that also went into it to create that whole ecosystem and hubs to be able to move larger and larger volumes. And we need to think of things that are scalable, because as John said, we're a country of well over 100 million people, 115 million people. And as I said, the irony is that the people who produce the food are the people who are the poorest and the people who often are hungry, actually. In a country where we have a high number of stuntedness and wasting, it's kind of shocking to see the obesity numbers as well, rising among kids. So there's something obviously we need to do to educate and to manage on the demand side, get more information. So one of them is cookbooks, as John mentioned. Someone is producing that within the SBN, but you can also go to the social media sites, Globe of Good, Oh My Gulay, and others. And then don't forget, finally, there's the Philippine Plan of Action for Nutrition, PPAN, and that's available online, I think, if you Google that. We're going to collect all the email contacts of our speakers, because one of the final comments here is that someone say, may we ask if our speakers have programs that we can join to support? Not monetarily necessarily, but can we support by doing legwork in these activities? So I think there are people who want to do something about this. You've inspired a group of people, so I want to thank you for that. I want to thank the audience for spending the afternoon with us here at Liveable Cities Lab to talk about food and malnutrition. For those of you who follow the lab regularly or are interested in attending the next lab, we shift gears. As you know, in the labs, we tackle many topics. So from food, our next topic is going to be on EVs, okay, transport, electric vehicles. And that's going to be on November 20th. It's going to be in a different location. We're going to be using Ayala Tower 2, so we have limited seating. We need to take reservations. And please note the time is also changed. We're moving a little early, 1 to 3:30, rather than the usual 2 to 4:30 time slot. So if you're interested in EVs, and it was already mentioned that there's now EVs for delivery, and that is one of the topics we're going to be taking up. EVs for mass transport, EVs for delivery, and of course EVs for passenger cars. So that's going to be the next topic. But for this one, thank you to our panel, Jomar, Jai, Sel, Henry, and John. I think you've inspired an audience who want to help, and John, I hope our network grows. Thank you very much. And well, speaking of food, actually, as you know, we always serve merienda after one of these sessions. So we are serving merienda. That's the good news. The bad news is it's not across the hallway like we normally. So we got to go back one building over to Bistro on the 5th floor of the AIM Conference Center. So we have guides who can bring you there. And we anticipated the need for food labeling, so we did a little bit of very basic food labeling for the merienda items that you are about to eat this afternoon. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you over merienda. Thank you.
For our audience, please stay. We'll have our speakers move to this front, and then we'll have a group shot from where you are. Just please compress to the center. So, to our audience, please compress. And let's have a group photo. Let's converge to the center. Okay, 1. Converge. And 1. Okay, again, thank you very much. May we request everyone to join us at the bistro. Our ushers will help you lead to the meal area. So as mentioned, go down and we'll walk to the opposite building. Oh, sorry, just across at the AIM, and take a lift to the 5th floor. So let's continue the conversation at the meal area. So our ushers will help you and guide you there. Thank you. Okay po, our ushers are there outside to guide you to the meal area. So let's continue our conversation there. Again, we request everyone to join us at the meal area at the